We run a clean show here. We like to make sure our episodes are family friendly in case you're listening in the car with the kiddos. We want to make sure you're able to do that. So we bleep things, we censor things, but occasionally we got to make an exception just because of the content that we were talking about. And tell me your thoughts. This might be one of those movies where you have to talk about some of the content we're going to talk about, the jokes we're going to talk about. I think this might need to be an uncensored episode. What do you think?
Maybe. Yeah, sure. Okay. I yeah, I guess if you stop and think about it for even a minute, yeah, there's some pretty
I mean, if we say one lyric of any of these songs in the microphone, it's going to be a lot of work for me in editing. That's the real reason that I want to do this. But
that's fine. So, folks, it is an uncensored episode. So, listen with caution. If the kids are in the car, just tell them to earmuff it. Just stay in school, read.
All that being said, let's play that fucking theme song.
We're not talking about the best of them. We're just talking about the rest of them.
Not the worst parts, but the best parts. And the best parts we have. The best of the rest.
Hello and welcome to Best of the Rest. My name is Chris Logan, and I am joined as always by Andrew, aka Kid Red. Say something to the listeners, Andrew.
Hello.
Each week we take a second look at a movie that was poorly received upon release and challenge ourselves to only talk about the things we like and what the movie does well. It's Fake Band Month, and this week we are talking the 2016 film Popstar. Never Stop, Never Stopping. Andrew, what is your history with this movie? Did you catch it in theaters? Have you seen it before preparing for this episode?
No. I hold on, let me say this. The general experience I had with this movie is very limited. I had not seen it. Kind of came and went. This was summer of 2016. I was enjoying. Did I move to 2016? No, I think I moved in 2017. Yeah, I moved in 2017. So I hadn't moved yet, but this one just didn't make an impact for me. I guess I wasn't like big into the Lonely Island. Like obviously I'd seen like some of the sketches that had like come from it. Like you'd seen the stuff that hit SNL and gone viral and stuff, and I saw that they were releasing a movie, and overall, it just didn't faze me. Didn't make any impression, didn't make me want to go see it. And then obviously it kind of came out, and then I feel like it kind of disappeared very quickly as far as like just not really sticking around theaters. And by the time I would have thought about going to see it, it was kind of already gone. I had not seen it for the longest time. And then at the urging of yourself, you kept telling me to watch it, and kept telling me to watch it, and kept telling me to watch it, and
never stopping,
ultimately,
baby.
And ultimately, continued to tell me to watch it. And when I finally thought you were going to stop, you continued to tell me to watch it, to the point that this goes so far back. I think it was when you could still like rent a movie to your friends on Movies Anywhere, and I think you sent it to me that way. The good old days. And I think you sent it to me there, and we're like, "Hey, watch this." And I'm pretty sure it expired at least once before I finally sat and watched it. Yeah, you'd like send it multiple times.
Was that Popstar or MacGruber? I mean, both of them I was pretty relentless with, probably.
Also, Logan Lucky, I think you did that with a lot too.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that?
And to be fair, I did watch Logan Lucky. It's
okay.
It's very funny.
Very
good. But eventually I watched Popstar, and I remember being very confused. I think I've told you this, but like I remember the cover to the Steelbook was like him with a flamethrower fighting like a giant bee.
Yeah.
And I thought it was about like aliens invading, so I thought it was going to be like a From Dusk Till Dawn situation where like we're watching this documentary of a pop star and then randomly halfway through it turns into like a giant monster movie or something. Not at all what happened. Not even
No.
close. And so I remember watching it being kind of confused. I was like, they haven't fought anything with a flamethrower in this movie. And then I got to like the blank scene where like you don't see it, and I was like, is that it? What? And so so I have seen it before at your urging, liked it well enough. And so when I saw we were going to be revisiting it for the podcast, I was like, well, this will probably be fun. And yeah, it's so a very recent history with this movie.
Gotcha. I'm happy to say I did see this movie in theaters. We'll get to the box office in a minute, but that puts me in an elite group of people, so I like to brag about that. But if I'm being totally honest, it's not because I was just a huge Lonely Island fan in 2016 and had to see everything they were doing. I liked them well enough, but as someone who never really watched SNL, I just saw the stuff that goes viral. You know, like you're saying, maybe you see a Lazy Sunday here, a Dick in a Box there, Jack Sparrow. Probably listened to their album a couple times by then, but again, I'm a much bigger fan of them now in the year 2025 than I was in 2016. No, the reason I saw this is because back in 2016, I had no children, and I got to go to the movies all the time. It was great. There's very little things that were released in 2016 that if I had a passing interest in it, I was going to see it in theaters at some point. So I saw Popstar. Loved it, thought it was hilarious, and was kind of surprised that no one else saw it. I mean, just the fact that it bombed, it just did not do well because I thought it was so much fun, and that's probably the reason I recommended it so hard. Right, it's a go-to recommendation in general because, well, you know, now we're almost 10 years later, it's kind of got its cult following at this point, but certainly when you see one of those movies that flies under the radar, you want to champion it and spread the word, and you can be pretty confident that none of your friends have seen it, so you get to be the one to introduce it to them. And that's been my history with this movie, and I'm excited to talk about it now on the podcast, dive into everything that we like, but let's set the stage here a little bit. The movie was released June 3rd of 2016. It was made on a budget of just $20 million at the box office. It only brings in $9.7 million. It is a bomb. Critically, however, it is very well received. It holds a 79% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Pretty good praise for a comedy, especially I say this lovingly, dumb, silly comedy like this one. The audience score is positive as well. It's a little bit lower. It's one of those rare instances where the critics are actually higher than the audience. And dare I say, that's always rare, but for a comedy, that's really, really rare. I'm not sure how many comedies out there where the critics are going to be higher than the audience. 65% audience score. So the movie is well liked among those that have actually seen it.
Yeah, I was looking at the box office numbers a little bit, and woof, this is pretty rough. The opening weekend, it makes $4,698,715, which is about almost half of its entire run is made in the first weekend, which, to be fair, is not that uncommon. It's just usually much higher numbers.
Right.
So that as you kind of get to the ending, you still have your same. The next weekend, it drops 65% to 1.6 million. And then the following weekend, it drops to 170,000.
I mean, I'm sure it's lost a ton of screens by that point. So
like that's
rough.
like the third weekend of release.
Yeah.
A summer thing. That is massive. Oh wow. Yeah, so it sticks the same amount of theaters the first 2 weeks, about 2,300 both weekends. It drops to 211 that third weekend. Because a little movie called Finding Dory came out. So that took over most of the theaters. It looks like around the same time we had Central Intelligence, The Rock and Kevin Hart. We had Conjuring 2, Now You See Me 2, X-Men Apocalypse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, Captain America Civil War is still making a decent clip of money at this point. Took in $2.3 million that same weekend, and that came out way before this. That came out May 6th. So, yeah, the box office for this was just not there. And then too many, I guess, more high-profile things came out, and just kind of never gave it a chance. Yeah, the opening weekend, it makes 4.6, for almost 4.7 million. But the number one that weekend was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 that made 35 million. So, yeah, just a tough go of it.
Hot Rod, a movie we covered on this podcast because it's from the same creators and also a massive flop. It made 14.4 million at the box office 8 years prior. So this movie performed
8 years prior. That feels
worse.
Insane to say out loud. Like, anyway, I don't know what you can point to. Like I said, it is a very stacked. The summer of 2016 had a lot of high-profile releases. There was a lot of stuff going on. That was definitely the era where if you were an MCU film, you were making like $1 billion by accident. There was a lot of stuff going on, and it is, this movie. It's one of those things that it kind of never stood a chance, and I don't know if, I'm sure there's somebody that's analyzed it more than me, but I'm sure that it was just a combination of things. The viralness of Lonely Island, would that translate to a film? Obviously the stacked box office season. Word of mouth obviously didn't really have an impact, despite the fact that, like you said, the critical response was generally pretty good. Especially in an era where the mockumentary or the documentary or the biopic had kind of, I don't know, does Walk Hard, is that part of why this movie doesn't do well? Walk Hard kind of closed the book on.
Well, Walk Hard also
biopic
parodies.
parodies.
I mean, that movie is also
It's
a
true,
beloved
it did.
movie that didn't do well in theaters.
Apparently people don't like watching parody biopics.
Those people are Spinal Tap, also a flop at the box office. So it's
Man, why didn't we talk about that?
Maybe we got a second month coming here, Andrew.
Yeah. We got Spinal Tap 2 coming, so who knows? Anyway, all that's just to say that, like, obviously the box office just wasn't there. Variety of reasons, I'm sure, that were part of it. But yeah, it just, by this, the theatrical run of this movie is basically over in 2 weeks, for lack of a better way to put it.
Taking a look at the creative team, the movie is written by Andy Samberg, Jorma Taccone, and Akiva Schaffer, collectively known as The Lonely Island. It is the first film to be entirely created by them from the ground up, and I think maybe to this point still the only movie. Any other movies they're collaborating on, either they're adapting work that started with someone else, or there's only one or two of them involved, but this is entirely The Lonely Island's vision. It's directed by just two of them, Jorma and Schaffer, who are typically the two that do the directing work on all of their projects. So, soup the nuts, a Lonely Island production. Judd Apatow is also producing here, but he essentially says, hey, Lonely Island guys, you're really funny and creative. Y'all should make a movie. I'll back you up. And they go from there. In interviews, the Lonely Island guys talk a lot about sort of the guiding hand that Judd Apatow provided, and Judd's the one that insisted on the story being focused on all three of them as opposed to just an individual pop star. But really, it's nothing more than that, just kind of guiding the ship of the sort of plot and story. But of course, again, all the jokes you see here, all the music, of course, it comes from the brain of The Lonely Island.
I do think it's interesting that Rodney Rothman is also credited as producing this, and he would eventually go on to write and direct a little movie called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I don't exactly know how he's a producer here that launches to that, but it's pretty wild. But yeah, this is definitely one of those, and that wasn't uncommon, especially with comedies at the time, was that, like, Judd Apatow especially. Like, Judd Apatow was kind of not notoriously known, but very known for, like, if he believed there was a talent that was capable of taking something and going forward with it, he didn't have a problem being the guy that was like, would go to the studio and be like, hey, do this. Like, I think Superbad's kind of like that. That was Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg kind of stepping into the creative role, and I think Judd Apatow kind of lent his name to that, and then ended up being a big launching pad for pretty much everybody in that movie. I mean, Seth Rogen was kind of already known by that point, but like Superbad is obviously Michael Cera, Jonah Hill,
Emma Stone, her
McLovin.
first movie.
Emma Stone, her first movie. Obviously, we talked about that last week, and then even people like Bill Hader. I think like Bill Hader's like rise is doing part to his role in Superbad. So, Judd Apatow, thanks, nice work.
Talk about paying it forward, right? I mean, that guy is toiling away for a long time in the business, and then I guess the 40-Year-Old Virgin is maybe his big break, and as soon as that hits, he's bringing like everybody with him. It's pretty cool.
He pretty does. I mean, did we talk about heavyweights on the show? We did, definitely.
We did. We covered heavyweights. Yeah. God, we've been doing this for a long time, Andrew. It's hard to remember the movies we've covered.
But obviously, like heavyweights, I've talked about that being one of my favorites, and he's a co-writer on that, and that's a full-on. That's almost 20 years. That's over 20 years before Popstar. So like Judd Apatow definitely cut his teeth, and but like you look at the things he's a producer on, like Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Step Brothers, Bridesmaids. Like there's all sorts of stuff here. So just that Adam McKay train with Will Ferrell, the Superbad train with Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, and even Greg Mottola with that. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which was I forget who directed that. Nicholas Stoller, and then even Bridesmaids with Paul Feig, who worked with Judd Apatow on Freaks and Geeks way back in the day, and Heavyweight. But as a creative, Paul Feig started working on like things like Freaks and Geeks, which I'm pretty sure he co-created. And it's always kind of gotten me that that there's this people like to say Paul Feig doesn't get it, like that he's not really like he doesn't really get nerd stuff, and I'm just like, dude, like the man created Freaks and Geeks, trust me, he gets it, like he knows what the deal is. Like there's episodes of Freaks and Geeks that are like genuinely difficult for me to watch because of how real it can be.
Oh no,
just
that's
like,
me.
like truly, I'm watching an episode of it and I'm like, oh man, like nobody makes me feel my own feelings. Nobody. Like it's that sort of thing. So, but anyway, yeah, Judd Apatow, good work. Thank you.
Well, Andrew, let's dive into it. Let's talk about all the positives, everything we like about this movie here. Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. Andrew, you ready?
Sure.
A documentary crew captures the promotion and tour of pop star Connor For Real's second album, Conquest. But when the album doesn't sell well, Connor is forced to take a look in the mirror and realizes he needs to be a better friend to his former bandmates and childhood best friends. That's about it. Right, it's a mockumentary about this guy on tour. His album's not selling well. He reunites with his friends. I mean, that is the entire plot of this movie. And then you just throw a bunch of jokes in there and you're over in under 90 minutes. It's a beautiful thing, Andrew. I love a movie that can get in and out.
87 minutes. 87 minutes. It's
Andrew, we pushed back the recording of this podcast by a few days. I watched the movie again last night just because I had an opportunity to, and it's so easy just to squeeze in. That's 87 minutes. That's like 2 episodes of a streaming show these days. It's nothing.
It's insane how wild that stuff's kind of gotten as far as just how it has. Yeah, I started watching like any show, and it's amazing to me how many even sitcoms are now like 35-minute episodes, and I'm like, no, stop, go back. Go the other way. Don't do
22 minutes without commercials, please. I don't mind, whatever. You want to make a show 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's fine, but be consistent. What drives me crazy is that, like, watch a few episodes of a show, I'm like, okay, I get it. I need to carve out this much time to watch an episode. But they'll, it's the last 3 episodes, they double their length for some reason. And it's like, no, why are we doing this? You're a TV show. Like, pick a time, and that's the time you have to tell your story this week. What are we doing?
Yeah, don't mess with the formula.
Don't mess with the
I
formula.
got things to do.
All right, Andrew, let's talk about this movie. But of course, we're going to start with the cast, specifically the best casting, best performance of the movie. Every episode, we recognize one person who goes so far above and beyond the Call of Duty that they actually elevate the quality of the entire film with their performance. And we recognize that person by giving them the Mark Strong Award. So, Andrew, I'm going to let you kick us off here and ask you, who is getting your Mark Strong Award for Popstar? But I want to ask, can I guess? Because I think I know who you're going with.
Okay, sure.
I think I can guess your 1 and 2. That's how confident I am here.
Okay.
Should I say it out loud or write it down? I'll say it out loud. Okay.
Yeah, no. Say it out loud.
So you've got it in your mind?
Yeah.
Is your Mark Strong Award winner Tim Meadows?
Yeah, it is.
I knew it. It's just it's a very Andrew performance. I mean, it's great. I can't even talk about it.
It's great. Yeah.
My backup. I don't know if you even have like a number 2 really, but I think Akiva Schaffer as Lawrence. All the stuff on the farm feels right up your alley too. So I think we'll get to the band. Much. I'm curious who you identify with most in the band, but let's go ahead and talk about Tim Meadows, who is essentially, speaking of Walk Hard, playing the same role, right? Just the manager to
basically,
the...
like, you don't want no part of this. I think I kind of want a part of this. I don't want to get a hangover. It doesn't give you a hangover. Well, it sounds expensive. It's the cheapest drug there is.
Would he also get your Mark Strong Award for Walk Hard?
He might. No, John C. Reilly really goes for it in that, though. He really, really does. And that one's not like a band splitting it up like with a group. Like it really is just John C. Reilly's showcase, and he crushes it. But anyway, I do love Tim Meadows in this movie. He plays the manager. Like, just his delivery is so like just perfect. Like, obviously there's this weird resentment he has that like he was in a band called Tony that he left because
what's one of the best jokes? It's one of the best jokes in this movie. Like, it's not even. It's one of those, like, I laugh, and I'm like, I marvel at, 1, someone writing it, and 2, his delivery. I mean, Tony is a real band, and like he says in the movie, each Tony has an exclamation point, but his idea was he be the 4th Tony with a question mark. Tony. It's so
ridiculous.
It's so
but
good.
So good. I love it so much. But just the way he delivers all of his lines, like the way he also like rationalizes Connor's behavior. Like, he has a whole monologue where he talks about, he's like, Connor doesn't really know how to handle rejection like an adult because he's never had to handle rejection like an adult. He's never been rejected in his whole life. Like, the way he kind of approaches his relationship with Connor. And then even like the moment he stands up to, oh God, what's that guy's name? Hunter the Hungry, Chris Red, when he finally stands up to him and kind of grows the spine, if you will. They're all just cool moments, but just like his delivery, he's just that guy, talk about a guiding hand. That's what Tim Meadows is. And also it just helps that Tim Meadows is, one, extremely funny. Like, Tim Meadows, like, I mean, just, you look at Tim Meadows' career, obviously he got one or two shots at being like a lead, primarily looking at The Ladies' Man, another ill-fated SNL adaptation. Not ill-fated from the sense that, like, it's bad necessarily, but just like obviously it wasn't super successful and it didn't launch until like wasn't his Tommy Boy or his anything like that. That's for
right,
sure.
right.
But I think he kind of settled into that like supporting character role where I think he does a really great job at punching up a film, adding a lot of humor. Obviously, like I said, he's one of the funniest parts of Walk Hard. And here he's, like you said, playing essentially the same role. But some of the jokes, like the Tony joke, is just so funny. And his delivery is just so effortless. Like, nothing seems like it's work to him. He's just, like, naturally just funny. And he is like that in, like, everything. And I think he's kind of underrated in that regard. Where, like, there's this just consistency to Tim Meadows where, like, you know exactly what you're going to get. In, like, a good way.
Right.
And it's just great. Like, Mean Girls, obviously, he's one of the highlights of Mean Girls. And Mean Girls is a thing with a lot of people. battling around for, great performances, but his still manages to shine through separately. I'm glad that when they did the musical just a couple years ago, they brought him back to play his character because he's that good in that role. Everybody else, I think Tina Fey and him are the only people that reprise their roles. Everybody else is new, but and that kind of speaks to, I think, that performance and what they think of it, that it's like, oh, even though we're doing this whole new different version, we need Tim Meadows back playing this character.
He's like James Earl Jones as Mufasa. Like you just can't have
you
someone
can't
else
not do it. Like you can't not do it. Even though they then made a Mufasa prequel where someone did. But it's a funny performance. It's a good, he obviously complements super well with these characters. This is like two different generations of SNL bridging together, and it's just really funny. It's great.
Tim Meadows is great. I love him. Everything he shows up. I mean, I just ditto to everything you've said here. I love him in Walk Hard. I love him. He's in one episode of The Office in season 2 that is hilarious. He's very good. He's a highlight, and I agree. He's kind of easy to take for granted or be underrated because his delivery is just so effortless. When he's like, "Come on, I got a family to feed," and he's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "I have a niece." It's so
everybody has a niece.
It's so good.
Did we do Wayne's World 2 on the show?
We did, yeah.
Then he's an alum of the show.
Okay.
Don't know that we talked about him on Wayne's World 2, but he is also an alum of the show as well. So probably didn't get the mark strong on Wayne's World 2, but now he has joined this illustrious club.
Oh boy, Andrew, this is really tough. I mean, there's 5 different people here that I think would be great picks for the Mark Strong Award. I've been searching my heart to I mean, if I could, I'm not going to suddenly change our rules to the Mark Strong Award, but if I could, I wish I could just give it to the Lonely Island, just give it to the Style Boys, just give it to the trio, because that's the secret sauce of this movie, I think, is the music. It's the driving force. I have seen this movie a number of times. I've listened to the album even more, both streaming and on vinyl. This is one of my favorite vinyls because Mondo released 4 different versions of it with different covers, all the different fake covers from the movie. I have the Thriller Also cover, which again, one of those jokes where it's just too good. Thriller Also. Okay, so I'm not going to give it to all 3 of them. That's a bridge too far for me. So I'm just going to go with our man, Andy Samberg as Connor for real, which anytime I read online, they say the character's name is Connor for real. I don't know. I'm assuming it's in the movie somewhere, but I don't remember that Connor for real being a play on his name, but he's the lead of the movie. He's singing all the songs. He is the butt of a ton of the jokes, and he plays this role really well. We've talked about Andy Samberg before. Obviously, we covered Hot Rod, and I think I said back then, I wasn't always a big fan of Andy Samberg. Never hated the guy or anything, but especially the early stuff I see him in, I'm like, oh, I get it. He has big hair and he's loud. That was kind of all I knew about him. But his role here, he's not just playing, quote unquote, Andy Samberg, which I think he's got a lot of diversity in his roles. I don't really think of any role like that, but he is playing a character through and through. The way this character postures, the way he talks to his social media followers, it's so specific without being a parody of one specific person, but you're almost immediately yeah, I know this douchebag. I know this person. I've seen this person on social media. I get it. And I think it's a lot of work to craft a character like that, and it sounds dumb. I'm just describing acting, be in character for a whole movie, but he's doing a lot of work here, and you can't overlook the fact that he's actually performing all these songs. And again, that's why I kind of wish I could give it to all 3 of them, because they create all the music and the beats and everything, but he's front and center of all of it. So if I'm going to give it to one person, I got to go with Andy Samberg as our titular pop star, as Connor for real, aka Kid Connor with the Style Boys, Mark Strong Award winner. Possible multi-Mark Strong Award winner at this point. No way to check.
There's no way to check. No, I think this is a perfectly valid pick. A valid, just like it's it's an invalid pick if you don't pick the right person. But obviously, he's the anchor of the whole movie. Like you said, he's got to be the butt of a lot of the jokes in this movie. And Andy Samberg is up for it. He's got no problem leaning into it, having fun with it, go into some real cringeworthy stuff just because he's going for it. But he's dedicated, and like obviously, like I said, the whole group is doing a lot of good work, but obviously the focus is on him. The focus is like, when he goes out in his disguise, that's like the most awful, gross looking thing, and it still sells it. Like he pretends he's like, you couldn't tell it was me, right? It's like, yeah, but
Andrew,
he's dedicated.
You bring it up. You bring it up. So I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna send you a link here.
Uh-oh.
This movie, I mentioned his character is not any one specific person, and that's true. But there are some obvious inspirations taken from specific people, and there's two very direct Macklemore references in this character. One of them is the song "Equal Rights." We'll talk about that in a moment. But the other reference is that disguise. So if you could click on the link that I just sent you here over Discord and just
oh no,
read that title,
no.
Look at that picture. It is
no.
What's the headline of this article, Andrew?
No, it says Macklemore insists concert costume was not meant to be anti-Semitic.
Look at that picture. Look at that picture.
That's like, oh my God. What in the world is... No, bro.
So when Sarah Silverman in this movie tells Andy Samberg, you look like Nazi propaganda, I think it's pretty obvious they're making a reference to this,
right?
Shall we say, snafu by Macklemore. And I don't, for what it's worth, I believe what we're looking at here with Macklemore is sheer ignorance and not an intentional thing, but it is just, it's one of those things where once you're called out, you can't do anything but be like, oh, yeah, my bad, I see it now. Which he did not do, but at any rate, there you go. There's the inspiration for that disguise he wears.
Heavens. Oh, God. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, we talked about Andy Samberg a lot on our Hot Rod episode. So, I mean, there's not really a whole lot else to say, but I agree that in this role, he's giving his all. He's leaning into it. He's not, shying away from being the butt of any of the jokes. And the movie's all the better for it. It only, in the spirit of the Mark Strong Award, I don't know if this movie works as well without Andy Samberg in the lead role. But it also doesn't work as well if Tim Meadows isn't his manager. So,
there you go.
The only reason I didn't go this direction myself. But, yeah, it's great stuff. And like you said, he performs all the songs, some of the most... They are certainly songs. But it's it's one of those things where like I don't know that I could own the soundtrack to this because listening to the songs would make me like cringe so hard where I'm just like, oh, like I know it's a joke and I know it's supposed to be funny, but like it would almost be tough for me to listen to them for fun.
And there's actually a lot on the soundtrack that doesn't make it to the movie, or in some cases, very little song makes it to the movie. Or some not at all. And I think I shared this on a previous episode. Who knows what episode? But there's a song that's not in the movie at all. And so I was listening to the vinyl, listening to the soundtrack like while I cooked dinner. And literally, like as my son is walking down the stairs with his mom, it's a song called "Fuck Off," and it's literally like directed at kids.
No.
It's I just put up the lyrics here. This one is dedicated to all the little kids out there whose parents are always riding them, telling them to do your homework and never letting you eat dessert, making you go to bed before you're ready. Well, listen, the next time they're acting bogus, I want you to try this out. Stand up on your tippy toes, look them dead in the eye, and say, "Mom, Dad, you can both. Fuck off. I don't want your life. I don't owe you shit, and I hate your rules. Fuck off, so get out of my room. You can suck my dick, motherfucking shithead bitch." It's like the most aggressive chorus possible disguised like in this children's song. And it
Yeah.
is hilarious, and it's just perfect timing for my kiddo to be walking down the stairs, and his mom
Yeah,
wasn't
that's,
happy, but I was like doubled over in laughter. Yeah, good stuff. I like listening to the soundtrack, Andrew. I don't know what the problem. I don't know what your problem is. Let's
I don't know.
let's round out the Style Boys, round out the band, the Lonely Island here. You have Yorma Taccone as Owen, aka Kid Contact, whenever he's in the Style Boys. He is Connor's DJ, so he's the one that sticks by his side. But on his first album, Thriller, also, he's making all the beats. That album's a huge success. For his second album, he gets relegated to just pushing play on an iPod at the live shows. None of his actual music is on the album, and that's a huge reason why this album is bombing. So he sticks with Connor for far too long, eventually getting fed up enough that he tells him to shove it. But for most of the movie, he's trying to reunite Connor and Lawrence, the other Style Boy. He wants to get the gang back together. The best times they ever had were together. And Yorma is the heart of this movie. And I think I think I did this back on Hot Rod. Like, I think Yorma is just an adorable little guy, even though I'm sure he's significantly older than me. But definitely the cutie of the group here. And Andy Samberg looks good. I mentioned this has been 8 years. That's actually 9 years in Hot Rod. That was 07. Andy Samberg still looks great, but he looks older. He looks like a grown man here versus he looked like a young kid in Hot Rod. Yorma looks exactly the same. This guy has not aged since Hot Rod. He's still like just a cute little kid with swoopy hair. I think I'm just a big fan of Yorma and everything he does. He directed MacGruber after all, so I love him of the show in multiple ways. But again, he's the heart of the movie, and that's not a small thing.
No, but yeah, like you said, he's kind of the presence in the background, the one that kind of sees through all the nonsense, and kind of doesn't, the part of the kind of premise of the movie is that Connor is kind of too insulated from reality, basically, because he just surrounds himself with petulant yes men who are just going to tell him everything he wants to hear. And he's kind of the one that kind of sort of goes with it, but then ultimately reaches a breaking point and tries to parent trap Connor and Lawrence into getting back together, and eventually succeeds, but initially gets caught immediately by Connor's. You trying to parent trap us? But I also like that they called it a really old movie when that movie was like, the remake was like less than 20 years old.
Yeah,
and that's what he's clearly watching.
This old movie called The Parent Trap, that he describes a freckled redhead girl. It's like, okay, it's not even the old one. It's
not even the old one with God, what was that woman's name? I can't remember. It's gonna bug me. But anyway, I agree that he is the heart of the movie. There's a lot of humanity he brings to it, and it's important. And obviously the working relationship that they all have together. Haley Mills, that's who it was in the original Parent Trap. The working relationship.
Thank God we
got
that taken care of, Andrew.
Obviously shines through in the movie, and the chemistry the three of them have together, it all kind of comes through and works in a very effective way. But obviously Yorma given a little bit more presence here than Akiva is, but he makes it count, and the movie is better for it.
And then we have Akiva Schaffer as Lawrence, aka Kid Brain. And he is the writer of a lot of the songs, who leaves the band because he doesn't get credit for his work. And that's what causes a huge rift amongst their friends. Most of the movie, he's kind of on his own because you have Yorma as the DJ going on tour with Connor for real. And so they share a lot of scenes. But Lawrence has now become a farmer. So most of his scenes are him alone on the farm. They're some of my favorites in the movie. He gets some absolutely great dialogue. They finally reunite at the end. We get to see some, him in action a little bit towards the end of this movie, aside from the small clip we have of his solo career, the song "Things in My Jeep." But this is great. And if I had to guess, yeah, I don't know. For something about this performance makes you think that this would maybe be your favorite member of the band. He just gets it's his dry delivery and so much of his dialogue, like the tricycle line is one of my favorites in the movie. Um, and just getting shit on by a bird, just real classic humor type stuff.
It's actually happened to me.
Oh yeah, not in the mouth.
It has. No, thankfully, but and it's. I'm going to tell the story now because I haven't had a chance to tell the story. I don't think in a long time. But
Okay.
it was back when I was dating my ex, Vanessa, and she decided that it was like I needed to meet her like college friend. And like we were going to go out to dinner. We went to Yaya Mary's, like a Greek restaurant in Houston. And it was one of the like most awkward nights of my life because
Okay.
her friends started getting like very intoxicated, like to the point that the restaurant like said, we're not giving this table any more alcohol. And I just increasingly am like shrinking back further and further into my chair. And for the love of God, I just wanted it to be over. And then like they got upset and they started like getting into they were like calling the manager over to like demand to know why they had been cut off. And then like ultimately like the restaurant like comped almost all of the food, like everything, like, but it was this just awful, genuinely awful night where I was like, I want to be anywhere else right now. Please, for the love of God, let this end. And then we finally left, and the three of them were like, we're going to go to a bar. And we were like, we're good. And as I'm walking to the parking garage to get into my car, a bird shit on my shoulder. And I was like, I could not think of a more apt metaphor for that evening than how it ended. Yeah, that was.
Did you
so, yeah,
appreciate
I
that in the
empathize with that
moment?
character a
Did it
lot.
like piss you off, or were you like, yeah, of course, this is the time this would happen?
I can kind of laugh about it now as kind of like the punctuation point on it, but like
You
in the
weren't
moment, I
laughing
was
then.
just like, for the love of God, I was like, you've got to be kidding, like Jesus. Yeah, that was certainly a time to be alive. So anyway, yes, I empathize with this character a lot.
Sarah Silverman plays Paula Klein. This is Connor's publicist who works very hard at her job. And as she puts it, she doesn't personally, listen to Connor's music, but it clearly makes a lot of people money. And that's what she is all about. But she does have, she does care for him to some degree, clearly, though, because she is instrumental in getting the boys back together, reunited at the end. So unlike a lot of his crew, she is not just taking advantage of him. There's some kind of history or connection there. But and this is an insanely stacked movie. Not only we'll get all the cameos and stuff, but like Sarah Silverman is hilarious. I'm a big fan, like her and everything I see her in, on and on and on. And this is no exception. I love the casting here.
Yeah, I think this is a good performance. Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of people in Connor's circle who definitely don't really get it, but they just know that it's successful, so they stick with it for that reason. And she's just really funny. She's instrumental in getting Connor to reconcile with Owen, and that which leads to them then reconciling with Lawrence. So it is a not just a funny performance; it is a pivotal. It's not just a funner performance; it is pivotal for the movie's plot, which, as we established, is very intricate and complicated.
Chris Redd plays Hunter the Hungry. This is the rapper that joins the tour as the opening act to help boost ticket sales. Man, I love this performance. First off, we should note that while, again, most of these characters aren't directly based on one person, Hunter the Hungry is pretty analogous to Tyler the Creator, who I personally haven't listened to a lot of, but I've read a lot of dissertations of this character and how a lot of the lyrics to his songs are direct references to Tyler the Creator. Obviously, the name Hunter the Hungry, but he's a new underground rapper that is making a lot of waves. His songs do go hard, that retarded Tyrannosaurus song every time it starts, like I'm like, all right, but this is pretty good though, right? This is pretty dope, right? But he is so intense. He looks familiar, but I don't know if I've seen much of his work. And I wonder how much of this is just how Chris Red walks around every day of his life, or how much of this is him turning on this insanely intense character. But his eyes are always wide, and he is just turned up to 11 for a mockumentary reference. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but like, he is like on at all times. His whole thing is like doing pranks to people. He possibly does this big prank on Connor, but he didn't. But what if he did? But nah, he didn't. Unless he did. I love this character. I mean, he really goes for it.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a small part kind of brought in to punch up the tour, and originally there's a good kind of camaraderie between Connor and this character that definitely goes south after it feels like his character Hunter is starting to get a little not necessarily know his place, getting a little big-headed, and he has him thrown off the tour, but that ultimately leads to the whole tour collapsing. But yeah, he really goes for it. Is another person in this movie that just 100% just like knows the assignment and cranks it up to 11 and does exactly what needs to be done. I do love the scene where he turns and talks to a camera when they're all together at the end. And they're like, no, we're with him. And he's like, oh, my bad. He turns around and talks to a different camera. And they're like, no, we're with Snoop Dogg. So it's like everybody's docs are all like crashing in on each other, and we don't know what's the right camera crew. And I'm like, just perfect.
If this movie was made just a few years later, those would be podcasts. Everybody would have their own podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the thing. But like, 2016, everyone has their own MTV show, their own documentary or whatever. Yeah, it is spot on. Andrew, those are our main players. We're going to talk about a few more people. There's tons of supporting roles and cameos and side players, and this movie's jam-packed, but those are people that like have recurring scenes. But a few more people to mention here. Maya Rudolph plays Deborah, who works for Aquaspin, the corporate sponsor for this tour. And Maya Rudolph, God, she's hilarious. I love the show. Gonna talk about her back on MacGruber. Love her in everything she shows up in. I mean, I feel like I'm describing a lot of people in very similar ways, but this is just an absolutely stacked cast of tons of SNL alum here. But Maya Rudolph, man, she lands a joke that involves the hard R, Andrew, and that is not an easy thing to do. Obviously, a lot of people should not attempt that, but God bless Maya Rudolph for pulling that off. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that was certainly a moment that I was not prepared for watching it back, where I was like, oh, whoa. Yeah. The whole notion of what they're doing there is so insane to me too. Like just the whole notion of Aquaspin. It's just so, it's like, but obviously even that is like riffing on like when U2 like had everybody automatically download their new album on iTunes and stuff like that, where like bands were just in this era of like trying to force you to listen to their new music using technology. And thankfully that one somehow didn't catch on, really. You would have thought that it got
it's
forced,
like,
but we mostly avoided that.
There was this collapse between the traditional record label model dying, album sales dying, and before streaming is really a thing, where it's just downloadable music, so people are torrenting it. There's this moment where like the music industry didn't know what to do, so it's like, well, we got to get people our music. So U2 did that thing. I remember Radiohead released In Rainbows digitally, and you paid whatever you wanted for it. You could pay like 50 cents or $10. You decided the amount. There's a lot of gimmicks like that. Like I said, like it was just I remember just an aimless time for the music industry.
I remember when Prince released Musicology and he went on tour. That was the first time that like the ticket to the concert included the new album. Which was, so when you showed up to the show, they gave you a copy of Musicology, and you were like, all right, I guess. And then, you threw it in the back of your car and you never looked at it again. But the twist with Prince is that he had those album sales those counted as album sale. So anybody that paid the ticket to a Prince concert during that tour technically counted for his Billboard numbers. So like Musicology was rocking like the number 1, number 2 spot there for a long time because people were paying to go see Prince. And that led to a whole kind of kerfuffle where like they eventually had to like reveal that the album was included, and they had to like create it as an add-on. Like you couldn't just get the album as part of the ticket. They had to disclose it as a separate thing. And then I think it firmly established that like if it was going to be included as part of album sales or not, which I'm sure it still was, but like they had to give you the option to opt out. They couldn't just include it and then say, haha, I sold more albums. It's like, no. And again, just showing that it's really weird, the things that like clearly the music industry will stand up to certain things, but the things they choose to stand up to are so strange.
There was a lot of, I have a Toadies album. It's a live album that originally it was sold to the attendees of that show. Like they recorded the live album, and then you could buy it immediately after the show. I know a lot of bands did kind of similar gimmicks like that. It's a weird thing. Billboard's another weird thing because like album sales used to be like, if you sell 500,000 copies, you're gold. You sell 1 million, you're platinum. And even those numbers had increased over time, but it was a very simple. And now there's like a formula that's like streams and YouTube views get counted for, and it feels like nonsense at this point.
Because it is. It's all nonsense. Like,
because it is.
It's ultimately, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just all nonsense. It is interesting though. Yeah, just see how that's all come and gone. It was a different time, folks.
Joan Cusack plays Tilly. This is Connor for Real's mom, and I think it's here in 2 scenes, maybe 3. The whole joke here is that she herself has always wanted to party like a rock star, and she's able to do that vicariously through her son. So when there's big house parties, she's partying along with all the kiddos. She's that mom. Joan Cusack, national treasure. Love this woman, everything she's in. Another person who shows up in 1 episode of The Office. We have not covered Addams Family Values because I guess there's not really a reason for us to do it here, but I'm sure we've talked about her performance numerous times in that movie. But she's a sister of a alum of the show. How about that, Andrew?
Sure. Dude, she is unbelievably good in Addams Family Values. I don't know that we've actually talked about Addams Family Values here, but
we haven't covered it, but we've talked about it.
She's just so funny in that. She's so good. Like, I quote that movie all the time. Like, her performance is just unbelievable in that movie. That's a movie that, like, on paper should not work as well as it does. And she's in a movie where Raul Julia plays Gomez, which is one of those things that everybody like universally praises as being one of the best things to have ever happened in the history of the world. She's probably still the unanimous Mark Strong of Addams Family Values. Like, I can't, like, I don't know that movie works with somebody else's Debbie. Like, Debbie's performance has to be so good for that movie to work, and she deserves all the credit for that. So yeah, she's literally got a couple of scenes here. This might be how we find out Connor's last name, because they probably show her last name. When they kind of have her, they show up like briefly, her name pops up. But yeah, she's just living vicariously, doing cocaine, all sorts of stuff. Like, kids first, kids do the cocaine first, and then she goes next. It's like, oh dear God. But she goes for it every time. She's great.
All right, Andrew, there's a ton of small supporting parts, tons of cameos, tons of celebrity pop-ins. We will talk about them in due time, but let's just get to the scenes of this movie already, because we could spend all day listing every single credit here. Andrew, what is the best scene in Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping? Or at least, what is your personal favorite? When is this movie firing on all cylinders?
I think it's got to be the for me. I think the scene I like is the reconciling with Lawrence down at his farm, because the whole time they've been showing Lawrence at his farm to this point, they've really been showing him as like kind of stupid. Like he's got these wood sculptures that are clearly awful. Like he can't handle animals at his farm. He can't do farming work. Like he's just bad at everything they show him doing. And then Connor and Owen show up. They give him the proper poppy, as they call it. It's not the Emmys here; it's the poppies. But it's not the Emmys.
Grammys will probably be the stand-in.
I just corrected myself. Emmys are television. My mistake. Which I think all of these guys have one. But anyway, he's kind of surprised. Goes outside, sees them, and they have this kind of brief standoff where Connor kind of admits to everything, kind of that Lawrence was correct, that like Connor took credit for a whole bunch of the stuff that they did, kept trying to flex and do power moves and stuff, and then Connor kind of owns that like he's the reason it all fell apart, and kind of owns that. And it sounds like that's the thing that Lawrence has just been asking him to do this whole time, including their previous scene where Connor still refused to do that, and then had to sign a guy's penis. What a moment that I'd forgotten was in front of me. But ultimately in this scene, Lawrence reveals that he farms weed. So I guess he's super successful doing that. They reconcile, they start working on a new song, and just you feel that camaraderie between these guys. And like I said, it helps that they're an actual group that's got history and it comes through. But just seeing them be able to work past everything, reunite as a group. Then this obviously feeds directly into the finale, which just kind of builds off of all of this with the reuniting of the Style Boys. But this scene of them back together, I think, is when the movie is most working for me. It's when Connor is he's hit rock bottom and he's figured out what he needs to do. He is reconciled with Owen and figured out, and he's like accepting that Owen has this talent that was missing from his last album. And then he knows that like Lawrence is the last missing piece of it. I love their conversation where like they just keep listing members of the Wu-Tang Clan, and they're like, he goes and does a solo record, but he's still in Wu-Tang Clan. And it's like, yeah, and then Reza, he does a solo record, but he's still in Wu-Tang Clan, and they just keep listing
the same metaphor. It's like, you're Method Man.
He released a solo record, and then he's still in the Wu-Tang Clan. And then at one point, like I think it's Owen that's like, we're like Wu-Tang. Yeah, but better. And then they all stop and go, whoa, no. He's like, yep, the minute I said it, I knew it was wrong. Yeah.
Or they lose the metaphor when Lawrence tries to make it Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Like,
yeah, like
we're all Tom Pettys and we're together. We're Tom Petty's, the Heartbreaker. Oh, okay, yeah. I lost it too.
Yeah.
It's good.
Lost it too. Yeah. It's just so the dialogue's really, really funny. You see them start working on new stuff together. They kind of you see the bond come back in real time. And that makes it work for me.
Andrew, they're going to come for you in the YouTube comments because it's RZA. I just want to make sure we get this on record.
Oh, my mistake. I was testing you. You passed.
Okay, good. I think I just I agree with you. Like, I also love this farm scene. For one, you get a really great emotional moment, which, again, we said something similar on Hot Ride. Like, this movie is not digging too deep to pull at the heartstrings, but there's enough of it to give the movie a heart and something a little bit deeper. And it's whenever Connor is finally giving Lawrence credit. First off, it's hilarious because it's all one-sided. He's like, why are you so angry? Like, because I haven't given you credit for that song, but I worked on it too. I was there that day. I was a little late.
Showed up late.
Yeah, I'll own that. But once I was there,
I was stuck in traffic. I overslept on purpose. Like, just literally everything.
He gets to the end, he wasn't there at all. Like, he admits that Lawrence wrote everything, and Lawrence never says a word. Like, it's just Connor spiraling, pouring his heart out. And I love because it escalates to him saying, "Why do you even care? I think the only person in the world that cares that you get credit for it is you." And then, like, there's this pause, and the movie kind of, like, lets you sit in that moment and kind of put it together, and Connor realizes, like, man, it matters to him so much why don't I just give it to him? If he only cares about it, like, why am I not doing this thing and acknowledging it because it makes my best friend happy? Like, it just gets to the core of it, and they have a big group hug. Yorma says, boom, Parent Trap. It's a great callback. It's good. It's not like making anybody cry in the theaters, but it's, again, enough emotional camaraderie and friendship to give the movie its heart, and it's also, of course, very funny. And you just get to see the three of them making music. We saw some previews of Style Boys songs. We've had Donkey Roll come up a few times here, but they start like actually making music again, pulling up beats. I love the song they're trying to remember, which is Sick Glinda. Glinda, are you dying or just avoiding me? Either way's a bummer, but I hope you're dying. It's absolutely wonderful. And of course, we find out later they create a new song there at the farm. And I love kind of going back to like Lawrence being on the farm, being kind of dumb. I mean, they're all dumb. But I think the whole thing is like, he does his woodwork, he does his farming, he raises the animals, but he's lying to himself because he's not actually passionate about any of that. He's not good at being a woodworker or doesn't care about it. Music is what he loves, and making music as well. He's been lying to himself this whole time. That's why he has all that equipment at the farm, because he knew one day he would be coming back to this, and that's what they do.
I love that he's like, I hate farming. Like, he just says it outright. He's like, I hate doing this.
Yeah.
So, and I do love that. Like I said, I love that twist that like this whole farming thing was just. They were kind of pulling the rug out from under us to reveal that, he actually has a giant operation that he has a whole bunch of people working on, which is clearly his source of money and has been for the last many years. He has
a huge weed farm, and the only hint I guess I could go up because it's 2016. They make it a point to be like they're on tour, and Yorma calls him, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna be in Colorado. You should come to the show." So we're establishing that his farm is in Colorado, and that's kind of, I guess, your hint that, what's going to be happening here.
It's legal here, man.
As someone who doesn't smoke weed or do the stuff, I still think it's quite funny that they turned the poppy into a bong and smoke out of the poppy. I thought that was a pretty good funny little gag there.
I don't also either, but very funny.
He's listing all his like strains of weed, and they have just a ton of great names. I think Beethoven's Nightmare. But one of the jars, he says frog jizz, and it's actually a jar of frog jizz, which I read there's a deleted scene that explains it, and there's, first off,
I think I'm better off not knowing.
There's like an hour of deleted scenes. I have this movie digitally because it's the only way you can get it on 4K, but there's no special features, rarely special features when you get a movie digitally. This one has none of them. So this is why we need to keep physical media alive. You can actually own the damn thing. You get special features, you get audio commentary. So now I've got to track down this Blu-ray. That Steelbook you mentioned earlier has long been out of print. I'm not going to pay $80 on eBay for that thing, but I'll track down that Blu-ray because now I got to dig into all these deleted scenes. There's there's a lot. They shot 400 hours for this movie, which is like twice the amount of a normal film. But they talked a lot about just how
you just said 400 hours.
Yeah, they shot 400 hours of footage for this movie. Like, there's not a 400-hour cut of the movie, but raw footage. Right. There's 400
That's
hours.
Insane. I would assume most
it's
movies
absurd.
don't even have half that. Like, it's. I don't know. That's nuts, though. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, on comedies, especially ones where there's a lot of, like, improv or potentially things like that, like, I'm just like, how much... I mentioned this to you before we recorded, that, like, my Adam McKay has mentioned that, like, there's probably, like, an hour-long version of Michael Keaton's Bed Bath & Beyond scene from the other guys. And like I said, the fact that he's not released that footage, to me, that's enough to put Adam McKay in prison. Like, that's just, don't rob, don't, it's the Uncut Gems thing. Why the fuck would you show me something if I couldn't have it? Like, it's like, why would you tell me this? Like,
I hear stuff like this a lot where, like, people are like, "Oh man, release the longer cut or show us the scenes," and they're like, "Oh, you wouldn't actually want to see that." And it's like you underestimate how much I would sit through. Like, I don't need 400 hours of raw footage, but I would at least once watch a 2.5 hour cut of this movie. Like, I would love to see all the scenes put back in. Like, why not? Give it to me. Give me what I want.
Here's how I put it. Like, because don't get me wrong, I have watched plenty of deleted scenes where I agree completely with the notion that, like, oh, this is why it was cut. Or, like, I've seen the director's cut where, like, they add a bunch of scenes back in, and I'm like, That Thing You Do, I think, is a great example of this. The theatrical version of That Thing You Do is like a brisk 90 minutes. It is very similar to this, where, like, it works at a very, very good clip. It's 108 minutes, so never mind. I'm a liar. But still, it's under 2 hours. It's, with credits, that's about 100 minutes, so about an hour 40. Works pretty well. The extended cut of that movie is 40 minutes longer. And so you're dealing with not just like 40 extra minutes of footage, you're dealing with 40 extra minutes of scene. So the plot of the movie changes significantly, but it's one of those things that you watch back and you're just like, yeah, like, I can enjoy this, but I can completely understand why these 40 minutes are not in the movie. Because it kills the pace. Like, there's whole moments where the movie just drags to a crawl because there's scenes like that. But there are definitely scenes where I've watched movies and I've been like, okay, like, that should have been included, because that makes that either helps with, like, one of the biggest criticisms of the movie, like, it's actually explaining plot points. So there's a whole range to what deleted scenes, and, there's a variety of reasons scenes get deleted, and I would say probably half to 2/3 of those scenes, probably a pretty good reason it ended up getting cut, whether it was pacing issues, whether it was because it wasn't very good or whatever. But like you said, that still leaves about a third to 25 to 30% of deleted scenes where it's like, this was great. And, I just wish we went back to, like, excessive outtake reels as well. Like, I was rewatching Rush Hour the other day when they have them running during the credits, like, Smokey and the Bandit style. And I'm just like, man, I miss this.
I regularly say, damn, he ain't going to be in Rush Hour 3.
Just movies are, I'm sure they've aged flawlessly. But I have a lot of nostalgic memories watching them.
Two side like, Rush Hour is honestly possibly my introduction to Jackie Chan, or at least very early on. But I now would rank it very low in his canon, especially once you go back and see a lot of the Hong Kong stuff. But very little of what makes Jackie Chan special is actually in that movie when you go back to it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Rush Hour. Andrew, we're here to talk about Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, which is a reference to Justin Bieber's documentary at that time, or it was a concert film, I think, which I guess is a type of documentary. But the one thing that the Lonely Island says they did not come up with is calling the movie that Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping. They always intended to call it Connor for Real. And the way they worded it is like, it's the one piece of writing that we didn't write. Like, we signed off on it, we agreed, but a lot of the marketing and trailers for this movie make it look like it's straight up a Justin Bieber parody, which might explain, at least in part, that box office, because that is a very specific thing that I can understand people not being into, versus a send up of the entire music industry as a whole. But again, you watch the movie and you don't feel like you're watching a fictionalized version of Justin Bieber or any one particular person. So it kind of sells the movie short, even though I think Never Stop, Never Stopping is a pretty funny phrase, even unrelated to Justin Bieber. I think that's just a pretty funny title.
I agree. Yeah, but that to me, I think, and that probably impacted me seeing it. I guarantee you it probably did. Where, like, I was like, oh, it's a Justin Bieber parody. Like, I don't, like, that's not to say that a parody of something can't be enjoyable by somebody who doesn't even enjoy the thing it's parodying necessarily. But, like, I really don't care about Justin Bieber. Certainly didn't at the time. Justin Bieber's peak to me is when he was one of the team captains for the NHL All-Star game a couple years ago. Along with Michael Bublé, Will Arnett, and I forget who the fourth one was. There's a whole presser during that All-Star game where Michael Bublé just talks about how he's high on mushrooms, and Will Arnett has to keep trying to wing the conversation away from the fact that Michael Bublé just keeps
What?
talking about how he's on psychedelics. Uh, it's very, very ridiculous and funny.
I didn't know Buble
like-
rolled like that. That's funny.
But like Justin Bieber, like full on, like suited up and was on the ice for stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. But at the time, especially because like he had this whole, just this heartthrob thing. I was like, man, I don't care about that. So I'm certain because like even like now you look at that poster, I'm like, this is clearly to me, this is like a Justin Bieber parody. But like it's like you said, it's pulling from so many different things to kind of. I wonder if that had a factor. I'm certain it played a part.
In true Lonely Island fashion, they have a lot of like legitimate artists featured on their songs. One of the first ones we get to see is the song Equal Rights featuring Pink. And what I love about these is by and large, their featured artist is usually playing it totally straight and adds this air of like legitimacy to their songs when the content and lyrics get increasingly more ridiculous. And this song, Equal Rights, is the other pretty direct reference to Macklemore, who has a song called Same Love, which is a song about equal rights for gay people, even though Macklemore is not gay. And not only is he not gay, within the first few lines of the song, he makes it explicitly clear that he's not gay. He talks about a time being in second grade when he's crying because he thinks he's gay, but his mom tells him, "You've liked you've liked girls since before pre-K." It's like, guys, I'm not gay, I'm straight, but it's exactly what the song is. But if I was, I'd want equal rights for all. And throughout the song, Connor is just constantly reminding you that he's not gay, and he splices in things like sports and hot wings and very manly things to drive home the fact that he's not gay. Love the song. It's hilarious. And the cherry on top is the little talking head from, who is that? Ringo Starr. And he's talking about equal rights, but they can get married now. Like it's legal now.
I loved that bit. I loved that bit so much. Where he's singing about this like it's not legal. Like they could just do it. Like I do love in that video too. You were talking about this, but just like everyone like in the clips, like they're real time reacting to what he's saying.
Yeah,
like,
which makes no sense for a music video.
Like they're literally like, listen, it's like the people in the video don't know what the song is about, and they're like hearing the lyrics for the first time, and they literally are just like, oh, like even Pink is just like, oh, okay, like everybody's like really offended by this song, and that makes it even funnier. Where just like in real time, the people in the video, even like the extras, are just kind of like, okay, all right.
Connor for real gets his big break with the catchphrase verse, as it becomes called, and he is featured on. God, I got this list here; it's so fucking long. He's featured on a song by Claudia Cantrell, played by Emma Stone, who they really don't put a lot of attention on. It's something that you could probably miss because she's wearing a wig, and you might not expect Emma Stone to be playing a singer, but of course, Emma Stone, alum of the show. Hell, we talked about her last week when we covered The Rocker. But she has a song called Turn Up the Beef. Connor for real has the catchphrase verse where he just says a bunch of catchphrases. That's all he does on the song is this catchphrase after catchphrase. I think my favorite one's got to be "Dill, Bert." But they get caught in your head. Okay, going back to Ringo Starr real quick. There's another Ringo Starr talking head where he says "Doink to Doink," which is incredible that they got a Beatle to say this stupid catchphrase. But I love this, like launching a career with a feature makes a lot of sense, but the fact that it's nothing but catchphrases is so funny.
It is very fun. Yeah, this is the whole big beef between Lawrence and Connor, but yeah, like I saw Emma Stone and I was like, oh, I wonder if she's gonna come back. No, just a bit. That's it.
Yeah, just real fast.
Just real fast. Movie's got a lot like that. Got all sorts of them just pickled throughout. Seal. I mean, have we talked about Seal?
Oh man, God, I love Seal in this movie. He
You can
sings
just cut
the-
off the in this movie of that statement.
I mean,
Everyone
yeah,
loves
Seal is wonderful. God, we probably talked about him plenty when we did Batman Forever,
Batman Forever, like, you have
way
to.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Here's a reminder that Kiss from a Rose was originally for the Never Ending 3 soundtrack. But Seal is singing
one?
the proposal, Never Ending Story 3.
There you go. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you specified the title or which one it
Yeah.
was. It's not even from the original. It's from
no.
the third one.
A franchise never ends, Andrew. So Seal is singing the proposal as he proposes to his girlfriend with all the press, with the wild wolves, the party wolves in place. But Seal singing agitates the wolves. They break free and they start attacking everybody. Seal gets attacked by a wolf and he literally like snaps its neck and kills a wolf. And he's got this wonderful scene where he says, it's not the first time he's fought wolves. How do you think I got these scars? And they go, from wolves? And Seal says, from fucking wolves. And here's what I want to know, Andrew. Did the Lonely Island guys write this scene for Seal with a line that he got his facial scars from wolves and present it to him? Like, hey, will you play this role? We have a joke about the scars on your face. Like, is that how it happened? Or do you think, like, they got him involved first, felt it out, maybe let him... like, how awkward is that to be like, hey, can we make this joke in the movie? I want to know how that went down.
Yeah, can we make a joke about the fact you had lupus that left your face permanently scarred? Like, I would like to think that, like, they just talked with Seal about that and they, like, worked it out. They were like, hey, like, you know, we're going to be doing this wolf thing. And, like, you know, I'm certain that, like, Seal's got it. You know, Seal knows what he looked like. Like, you know, he's...
that doesn't mean he wants to make a joke about it. I mean, I love him all the more for it. I'm glad he does have a sense of humor about it, but I wouldn't hold it against anybody that would not want to make that joke, you know?
I think if you get an idea for what the movie is, you kind of get an idea of the vibe. I would like to think that they all kind of came to that place together. But I do, you know, like I said, if like there was some story that like, oh, we wanted to make a joke about this and he said no, I would completely understand that. Like, you know, like I said, it's a very real thing that he dealt with that caused this. And so I would completely understand him being like, no, that's off limit. Which I don't know, like you can leave out that one line and the scene is still super funny. Like, it's just the fact that Seal has, like, dealt with fighting wolves before.
Yeah.
Like, you can still run with all of that. Like, the notion of Seal just fighting wolves for fun is almost as funny. So, like, you can still run with it. But, like, the fact that he embraced it, ran with the joke, I thought that was really funny.
Isn't it bullshit that Seal is such a beautiful man that he can have a scarred face and he just gets, like, more attractive? Like, it doesn't hurt his beauty at all? Like, what is that about?
The man was married to Heidi Klum for like 9 years. Like he
Yeah.
he
And I don't know who's
wins
hotter.
everything.
I don't know which one's more attractive. And he's
I
a
don't know,
singer.
man. I don't know.
Andrew, there's a cameo that I missed every time I watch this movie. I watched it twice, you know, just this week alone. And I knew Weird Al was in the movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's Weird Al. Never mind.
But I did not know where. I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing him in the crowd or whatever. But there's a band that's mentioned a couple times. The name is Hammerleg. And they sold out an arena that Connor for Real couldn't sell out. And they introduce Connor for Real at the Poppies at the very end. And you see the band and it says Hammerleg. And it's like, yeah, these are probably actors. This probably isn't a real band. Hammerleg isn't a real band. But the lead singer of that band is played by Weird Al Yankovic. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't have his trademark hair that I look at a screenshot and I'm like, I guess I believe you, internet, that this is Weird Al, but like I have a hard time seeing that as a Weird Al. Andrew, did you recognize this man?
I did. It hit me before the end of it. Like, there was like an uncanny valley of like looking at the face where I was just like, huh? So I'm watching that clip of Hammerleg, and as it's going, I'm like, man, like there's like an uncanny valley about the singer that I'm not getting. And then before the end of it, I was like, wait, that's Weird Al. Like I was like, that's Weird Al with like no hair, which is so weird.
It looks
even
like
when he does parodies.
Weird Al as Sting. Like he's got that short spiky hair.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. But yeah, I did figure out it was him. There was another cameo that I'd forgotten about, and it's Martin Sheen. Um,
So ridiculous.
or Martin Sheen. It's like picking up I forget the food. Is it pizza? Is it something I don't even remember? But like Martin Sheen and Connor run into each other at a restaurant, and Martin Sheen ends up punching him out. But it's on like CMZ, which we haven't talked about CMZ, but I love all those clips in this movie.
We'll get to it. Before we get to CMZ, Martin
Yeah.
Sheen, after he knocks him out, he starts screaming, Attica! Attica! And it's like, why? It's so fun. Yeah, that's a wonderful cameo. It's
Oh my god.
you know, it's while like Connor for real is hitting his rock bottom. You see him like drunk in public, passed out on his hoverboard. One of my favorite shots, he's in his mom's house and he pours like 10 shots of tequila in front of him, and there's a jump cut to all the shot glasses being empty, and he just, it's a podcast, I don't know how to do this, but he just like looks up from the glasses and just looks at the camera, just like so out of it, with the biggest black circles under his eyes, and he looks like a Tim Robinson character. Like he just looks so out of it there. It's one of my favorite shots in the movie. It's so funny, but it's entirely visual, so I can't really replicate it here, but
yeah,
it's wonderful.
yeah.
They did
so
say,
good.
speaking of all those deleted scenes, that they have like 45 minutes of like Connor's downfall. Apparently it gets very, very, very dark, but they were like, yeah, audiences can handle about 10 minutes of this stuff, and then we gotta like keep moving. So again, I gotta track down that Blu-ray and dive into these deleted scenes. But yes, Andrew, there's some clips of CMZ a few times. I think there's 3 of them in all, including the mid-credit scene. Of course, very clear parody of TMZ, which, Andrew, of course, TMZ, it had a show, I have no idea if it's still on. I never watched it. Why would I watch that? But I saw just enough through social
to know exactly
osmosis.
what this was. Like,
Yes. Like Eric Andre's there with these braids. I'm like, I know that's a specific guy that has braids on TMZ. Like, I know this is like how direct of a reference this is, and all of the like Will Forte constantly drinking out of bigger and bigger
Will
cups.
Arnett.
Will Arnett. Excuse me. Will Forte is in this movie somewhere. Will Forte, my number one guy. I've talked to him a million times. Yeah, he plays the bagpipes. Andrew, I don't know where he is. Like, I watched this movie. I read, Will Forte's in it. Bagpipe. I got to keep an eye out for him. I watched it again. I never saw Will Forte. I Googled it. I don't think his scenes were deleted.
It's the turtle funeral. He plays the bagpipes at the turtle funeral.
I've got to watch that scene again now, I guess. But yeah, that's where it makes sense. I guess he's by the pool, but God, I love Will Forte. But anyway, Will Arnett. Yeah, Will Arnett is the one that is
so it's,
doing the TMZ parody.
It's Will Arnett, Eric Andre, Chelsea Peretti is in there, and I think Mike Birbiglia plays the fourth one the ones who kind of speak. But Will Arnett, like, it's so... Even just thinking about it's making me laugh because I'm that dumb. But, like, he just continually keeps bringing up, like, bigger and bigger cups. At one point, he pulls up, like, 3 cups taped together. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And then the final one in the mid-credit scene that he pulls out is this giant, like, igloo cooler that's got a handle on it that he just, like, starts drinking out of. And when he pulled that up out of nowhere, like, I about died laughing. Like, I don't know what it was about it, because he's so casual, he no-sells it every time, and just, I guess that to me it's the dry delivery that works. But just the fact that he like pulled that up, and then they're all doing the stupid laugh where they're all just like, they say like the dumbest thing, and then they all just start laughing endlessly for no real reason. And like, this was just the perfect group of talent to like parody this. Like, Eric
There's
Andre
got to
gives
be
that absurdity.
so many hours, many deleted
like,
scenes.
That's
of this.
another one where I'm like, I bet you there's like an hour-long version of every CMZ scene where like by the end of it, like Will Arnett's just drinking straight out of a giant water fountain or something like that. But it's so funny. But yeah, specifically like when he pulls out like the most giant ridiculous thing, I was like, is this my favorite joke of the whole movie? It might be, but it's not really right that it should be. But,
God, those scenes
I like my sight gags, man.
Those scenes are so good. Like, and they always they don't slowly escalate throughout the movie. Like from the first time you see them, it ends with them all doing the hysterical laughing, but then like it's like the cameras just keep rolling, and like Eric Andre goes from laughing to just like a existential scream. Chelsea
like a
Pernetti is
primal
literally
scream
just going, and it does it for like a long time before it cuts. Like it is so ridiculous. God,
so
I love
good,
it.
though.
I love it so much. It's so good.
It's so good. So good.
God, there's too many cameos to go through them all, but I do want to go back
Bill
real
Hader's
quick.
in this. Like, Jesus. Like, Bill Hader's in this for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, he's the guitar tech, even though no one really plays guitar. I just want to make sure everyone's ready. He's so similar to his character in Hot Rod. Like, he looks like he's probably smoked his brain cells to death. I don't know what phrase I was going for there, but he looks burnt out. He has this whole speech about how he is really into flatlining, based on the Joel Schumacher movie Flatliners, shot by John DuBont. Like the specificity of which he says that, and then he says he likes to get an F-line session once a week. He's got a little like shorthand for it.
The fact that he calls it an F-line session,
so good.
It's too good.
God, he's so good. So the scene with Seal singing, all the party wolves there. The wrangler of those wolves is yet another cameo. You have Paul Scheer there, and he has this line delivery that kills me every time because Seal's singing, the music is setting off the wolves, and he's warning him like you have to tell them to stop singing. You have to stop. You have to cut the music. And Connor's like, "Can you shut those wolves up?" And he just looks at him and goes, "No." Like that's what
exactly. Like
no.
I love that delivery so good. It's so unbelievably good. I was actually I'm always happy to see him. He almost always plays small parts, but obviously How Did This Get Made and Unspooled are really good film podcasts if you're looking for things. Jason Mantzoukas from How Did This Get Made actually just recently debuted on Taskmaster, the British panel show that I'm a big fan of.
Oh, yeah, fun.
Chaotic energy is so good.
Andrew, do I need to
show.
remind you again on mic to watch One Man's Trash, the episode of the Chris Gethard show?
The Chris's saga of trying to get me to watch One Man's Trash is very similar to his saga of trying to get me to watch Popstar. Like he's gonna never stopping, but like I just haven't given in yet. But the time will come that I give in.
And everyone listening, please watch the episode of the Chris Gethard show called One Man's Trash. And all you want to do is go to YouTube, punch that in, and watch it. Don't read about this episode. Don't try to figure out why I'm recommending it. That would ruin everything. Just trust the recommendation. Go for the ride. It's a great time. But Paul Scheer and Jason Mantzoukas are the guests on that episode, which is why I'm bringing it up right now. But everybody, One Man's Trash. And we will get Andrew to watch this too.
One day.
Justin Timberlake is in this movie. We've gone this long, gone through all these cameos. Fantastic casting because he plays his personal chef. Like we all know, he is the biggest pop star in this movie, in the world at the time, maybe to this day, who knows. But he has obviously collaborated with The Lonely Island multiple times before, Dick in the Box being the biggest one and to this point. But he's really funny. Justin Timberlake is a good comedic actor. I love how he talks about the different ways he cuts carrots and all the different shapes. He calls one of them obelisk, and he says it. Carrot cut into an obelisk, however you say that. Pretty good. But he he dreams of performing with him, and he finally gets his chance to be in the fish costume during the finale. But good casting right there.
Very good. Very, very funny.
Andrew, of all the talking heads, if we just the celebrity talking heads, they're all like praising Connor for Real and the Style Boys, they're all big fans. I want to give a micro Mark Strong award to Nas. He's the best one. He is so genuine in his delivery. It's insane that he is, to my knowledge, not an actor. He's just a very highly acclaimed rapper. But the way he's like talks about, you know, the Style Boys, how big an influence, and you know, they reunite, and he's like, you know, I was alive for that. I got to see that. Like you buy that he's talking about some great artist that he admires. And then the genuine way that we hear that clip of Lawrence sing his solo song, these are the things in my Jeep. Like, it's just a list of a bunch of stuff that ends with, these are the things in my Jeep. And Nas goes, I couldn't relate to that song because I have different stuff in my Jeep. it's so, the deadpan delivery is, oh, it's so good.
It's so good. I mentioned that there's a clip of I don't know if I mentioned this on the episode or not, but there's a clip where Connor goes on Jimmy Fallon, and he goes on the Tonight Show, and he does a whole big thing there with that. But like, I guess what was so strange watching it is that it felt like, because Jimmy Fallon does things like that all the time, where like he gets like he does like pop culture reunions or nostalgia stuff, and like it's just so effortlessly like slid into it that it almost made me mad, because I hate when Jimmy Fallon does that, because he feels so inauthentic to me, that I was just watching this and I was like, no, you don't get to be the third Style Boy. What are you doing? Don't you dare stand where he stood.
You think you can do the donkey roll better than Connor for Real, than Kid Connor? Come on, real? Jimmy.
I've been watching Connor for Real for days now, man, and there's no way.
That is it. Yeah, absolutely something he would do on his show. It's so so spot on. As is everything this movie, Andrew. The first song we see in full, so the opening credits, is "I'm So Humble" featuring Adam Levine, and in the live concert we see it's Adam Levine's hologram, which is so expensive, and that's maybe like the best straight up song. Like, it's still a joke. He's not being humble about how humble he is. It's funny, but it sounds the most like song you would hear in the wild or on the radio or whatever. It's a really great way to start the movie. And just to speak of like self-awareness and perfect jokes, at the end of that song, you have a talking head from Mariah Carey. She says that she loves that song because she's probably the most humble person that she knows, which is so self-deprecating. It's so good. But yeah.
I oddly enough, I just saw a clip today, and it was titled just like David Beckham like reality checks his wife, because as you guys may or may not know, David Beckham is married to Posh Spice, or at least was at one time. And she's trying to talk about how she was working class, and David Beckham for some reason is just not having it. Like, he's just like, no. Like, he's like, tell them what kind of car your dad drove you to school in. And she's like, that's not. And he's like, no, tell them the kind of car that your dad drove you to school in. And she's like, well, there's a lot of different things. He's like, no, tell them the car your dad drove you to school in. And she finally, like, after he, like, doesn't let this go, goes, it was a Rolls Royce. And he goes, thank you. And then walks away. Like, just really needed it to be very clear that he was not buying for a second that his wife was working or middle class at any point in her life ever. And I'm like, not that anybody would ever think Posh Spice was working class, but the fact that David Beckham of all people was the one that was like, nope, no, we're not gonna have this. You're gonna admit that you've been privileged your whole life. I'm like, I don't know. The respect meter went up the slightest of ticks to just be like, I'm not gonna let this happen. But yeah, bringing Mariah Carey in on the joke, too good.
The very end of the movie, we get the Style Boys reunited, playing at the Poppies, their brand new song, Incredible Thoughts. And there's a guest singer, Michael Bolton, gets to sing the hook for that song. Again, of course, he's collaborated with The Lonely Island before. Jack Sparrow, one of their biggest songs, I would say, before this movie. So it's nice to have him back. And it's a great way to end the movie. I love this song, full of faux deep thoughts, and of course Michael Bolton's he's just such like an adult contemporary serious singer.
He's a whole punchline of a joke in Office Space. Like, he's the opposite of relevant in the mid 90s, when he's just like, why should I have to change my name? He's the one that sucks. Like, the whole joke in Office Space is that he's annoying as hell. And but like, the fact that he's swung that all around into now being arguably more culturally relevant now than he ever was before
Yeah, that's probably
it's kind
true.
of wild.
But you get someone like that who comes from such a serious music world, and you insert him into this comedy pop music. He's gonna bring an aura. He's gonna bring a weight to that track. He's gonna bring us a certain sense of what does Michael Bolton bring to Lonely Island songs, Andrew?
There was the briefest of moments where I thought about trying to sing this like Michael Bolton, but I abandoned them immediately. It's
I'll put an effect on your voice. Give it a shot, Andrew. I'll make you sound real nice.
No, it's not happening. It's too far. I've come too far.
All right. Of all the songs in this movie, it's hard to pick a favorite. But the one I've been singing all week, the one that really gets stuck in my head is it's just the line, "Mona Lisa, you're an overrated piece of shit." It's this whole song dedicated to how the Mona Lisa like actually sucks. It's so funny to me, the music here, because you have to have like Style Boy songs that are in this universe well received. Connor For Real's first album, which I think is I'm So Humble, is gonna be off that one, which is well received. And then Connor For Real's second album, which are songs that are not well received and are like jokes, like Equal Rights. And in the real world, they're all really funny, but it's funny now they just enough difference between those. Like, well, what's gonna fly in this world and what doesn't? One of the ones on the Conquest album, on the Bad album, it's a little song called "Finest Girl," and the whole hook here is he hooks up with a girl that wants him to fuck her like the U.S. fucked Bin Laden. That's the entire hook, and they hit that joke 40 times in that movie.
There's funny moments during this the movie where I was a little bit oddly reminded of like Flight of the Conchords, because Flight of the Conchords are one of my favorite bands, but like the content of the Flight of the Conchords songs and the content of the Connor For Real song got into like oddly similar territory. But obviously Flight of the Conchords are like purposely doing it in a comedic sense. Like there's a whole joke the Flight of the Conchords does called "The Most Beautiful Girl," but the joke is that she's the most beautiful girl in the room. Specifically that room. And like there's a whole line where like, and if I saw you on the street, depending on the street, you're probably in the top 3. Like the whole premise of the song is just that she's the most beautiful girl in the places that she's in.
There's enough
not
qualifiers
ever.
that it's not really a big compliment.
But just there's a lot of Flight of the Conchords songs that are just in that same vein, but like they're obviously done from a comedic stance. But I was just like that one especially, where like he was talking about the finest girl and it swung into Bin Laden. I was just like, oh, well, I didn't see that one coming. It wasn't prepared for that, but yeah, good stuff.
They said writing that one, there's this trope in like rap and hip hop and R&B of like sex metaphor. Like they specifically reference an R. Kelly song that's like, "You remind me of my Jeep. I want to ride." Pony by Genuine's one that most people are familiar with. And so the challenge was like, well, what's like the most absurd, like how far can we push that? And they said like when they came up with the Bin Laden metaphor, like, okay, that's it. That's the worst. That's the worst version of this. My favorite line in that song has gotta be though, "She was a freaky kind of girl, kept up with current events from around the world, more specifically one event." It's wonderful. Oh,
I remember when John Cena announced that to the world.
You know what else I love about this? This is 2016. This was not a current event. Like it's so funny to pull. It was 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years after he was killed. So it's so funny to me that like to get so specific about something that's not like, currently in the news or whatever. Something about that is just really funny to me.
It's almost like Connor's album was full of a lot of stuff that just didn't make any sense. Hence why Conquest was not a success.
Yeah. A whole song built around how Spaniards pronounce S. It's like the whole...
Man, it's one of those things where like you're just like to have to write that on paper and be able to turn it into something is impressive.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know, Andrew. We could sit here all day going line by line through the lyrics, saying the jokes, but I love this movie. It's just a fantastic, wonderfully silly, stupid comedy, but an insane amount of work went into it in both the music and the execution, and like it's one of my favorite comedies. And again, 87 minutes, like in and out, but it leaves such an impression. And like, what am I doing, Andrew? I'm like wrapping up our podcast, but we haven't discussed in depth, in detail, the scene in the limo where a penis gets pressed against the window. We can't get out here without doing this, Andrew, because we've covered this ground before, but we are, very supportive of dong on screen. There should be more of it, I say. Like, there's plenty of female nudity in movies, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying we can balance the scales a little bit here, right? I mean, I think Predator 2, there was a very quick shot of a penis, but it's so rare to see naked male genitalia in our movies. And funny enough, Walk Hard is one of the other examples I can think of where you see a penis. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it's almost always for comedy. But whatever. Anyway, we get our dongs on screen. We are pro-penis on this show. #PP. All about it. Balance the scales. The issue here, Andrew, is that usually when you see a naked woman, it's their breasts, and there's just no male equivalent to breasts. Right. If a man is topless, it's not nudity. But even though breasts aren't a sexual organ, we have sexualized them to the point of being considered nudity, Andrew. But we got to work with what we got, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it's talk about double standards. You talk about, holding people to different expectations. It's, there's, and, female breasts have certainly been sexualized in a lot of ways in a variety of different media, despite their actual function. I don't know. But, it's, yeah, we can balance the scales back,
Yeah. Although I will say I have seen more penises on film in like Hollywood movies than vaginas. I don't know if I can think of one movie where I've seen a vagina that's, not NC-17 or whatever. Basic Instinct. Yeah. It's the one.
Well, like, I guess, and you speak about it a little bit more too. Like, you probably shouldn't include any of this on the podcast, but like,
it's Andrew. It's all going in. Is like, it's unedited.
If a woman is like standing naked in front of you, like obviously you see her breasts and you can see other stuff, but like the thing itself is kind of between the legs, and so there's a lot of like camera trickery where you can be like, here's a naked woman, but we don't actually have to show the lower half. And whereas with like a man, like there's no hiding that. Except, I guess, in this movie where he tucks it back. And they make a whole big
he does exactly that in this movie.
But, like, if you're showing a naked man, like, from, like, a camera shot, like, in shot, like, there's no camera trickery, really, to hide any of that. Outside just, doing
just
it from
black
an angle
shadow.
Where you don't see it. Like, yeah, or, like, whatever, like that. So, like, it's created this, like, weird, like, and you can hear, like, even guys like Seth Rogen or Evan Goldberg, I think, talk about, like, how when, like, you have a penis on screen, like, you have to be, it's like a very specific amount of time that you're allowed to have a penis
and
on
it
screen
cannot be
like
erect.
Automatic. Like automatic, like NC-17, like full on. Like you can show an erection in somebody's pants and that's fine, but you can't actually show an erect penis, or you can't do any of that, because then now suddenly you've created, whatever.
And hang on, Andrew, I'm taking notes here. You said with a woman, it's hidden between their legs. I just want to make sure I get this.
Don't do this. Don't, come on, man. Like
I'm learning. I'm here to learn, Andrew.
I'm saying there are ways to show a woman's whole body from the front or the side or whatever, where you're not necessarily revealing things. Whereas with a dude, it's kind of like, well, that's your penis.
We get this thing about those movies I just referenced. This might be the most screen time I've seen of a penis, but first a woman puts her breast against the window, And he
Yep.
is showing off to Lawrence, look, these are my fans. This is how much they love me. This is what it's all about. And while he is going off on his little rant, that woman moves. A man pulls out his penis, presses it against the glass. He continues his talk. He's like, soak it in. I slurp this up. Then he turns and looks and sees that is a penis. But, dude.
He
The
signs
scene-
it anyway.
He rolls it down, and the penis like skips against the glass as it goes down. It's
It looked
amazing.
painful.
It's actually amazing they got that in, and past the snitchers. But yeah,
well, and like you even in those moments, you realize that like the clips of the penis are like very short, and then it cuts back.
yeah.
And so like I guarantee there was a time thing where they're like, you got to be like in and out. And I love it. I love that even like the window's down and a woman's face like appears and she's like, this is my fiance's penis. Like it's literally like they're a couple that's trying to get this guy to sign his dick. And it's like, oh, for the love of God. But I support it completely.
Yeah, that's good.
We should probably
Had to make sure.
we should probably hit the car. We should probably hit the car wash.
Yeah. It's I just gotta. We can get out of here, but I gotta highlight one last great joke. Just one of those things that you're like, God, someone wrote that. It's so funny. It's when Connor for real. Speaking of that scene where he is tucked and ends up naked on stage, and people think he might not have a penis. Tim Meadows is like, it was only up there for like 10 seconds. And he says, 10 seconds is an eternity. It's a third of the way to Mars. And Tim Meadows has to explain, we've been over this. 30 Seconds to Mars is the name of a band. It's not a fact.
The way he delivers lines like that is just why Tim Meadows is so good. Just why he is so good at what he does. There's an SNL skit I remember Tim Meadows did where he's a census giver and he's talking to Christopher Walken. And Christopher Walken, he's just doing basic census questions. And he goes and he's like, okay, do you currently have a passport? And Christopher Walken goes, I have dual citizenship with the United States and Florida. And Tim Meadows is like, what? Like, Florida's part of the United States. And Christopher Walken's just like, hey, don't push your politics on me, pal. All I know is that when I turned 50, I got issued a Florida passport. And he's like, do you have this? And he hands it. It's like a greeting card, like a birthday card. And he's like, it says, this is just a birthday card that says you're 50. Here's a Florida passport. This isn't real. This is like fake. But like the way he says it. And then Christopher Walken's just like, hey, I just do what I'm told, man. Like, but the way Tim Meadows just delivers that like incredulous, like straight man delivery to insanity is just too good.
That's it, Andrew. That's the end of the month. Fake band month. Very fun theme. And there, like we've said, there might be a few more movies we can sneak in there. Maybe revisit this. Or maybe even visit some real bands on screen. I think it's also a pretty fertile ground to explore in the future. But as we've been saying all month, Andrew, we're going to rank these bands. So now that we've got to the end of it, we've got to look at all the fake bands we've covered and see where they stand on our personal rankings. So this is going to be our Ask Andrew for the week. Andrew, I want you to rank the bands we covered in Fake Band Month. So as a recap, we started with Airheads, which features the Lone Rangers. They get a nice little concert at the end of that movie there. Then we move on to Rockstar, featuring the band Steel Dragon. We get to hear a few tunes from them, some good 80s hair metal. And last week we covered The Rocker. Now there's two fake bands in there, but we hear the most from ADD. I think that might be the one we should talk about here for the purposes of this list. But shout out to Vesuvius and their, again, 80s glam metal. Then this week we talked about Popstar. And again, it's a little... there's Style Boys and there's some features and stuff, but Connor for Real's music, basically the soundtrack here, I think is what we're looking at for a fake band, Connor for Real. So Andrew, 4 bands, 4 artists. What are you listening to? How are you ranking these? How are you stacking these up?
All right. So this is a tough one. Because the song that I have listened to the most since watching all of these movies has been what is the name of that song? It is We All Die Young by Steel Dragon. Big fan of that one. It's a song he sings during the audition, and he sings it during their first big live performance. So in that regard, as far as personally, I've been listening to Steel Dragon the most. So I think I got to go Steel Dragon at the top. And that leaves ADD, the Lone Rangers, and Connor for Real. So I really do like the Airheads Lone Rangers song. I do. I will probably listen to that more than anything by ADD. So I think what I'm going to do, I think ADD goes last. Then it's Connor for Real third, the Lone Rangers second, and then Steel Dragon first.
Okay, I can respect it. And that feels right for you, Andrew. I'm not surprised by that order, I've got to say. This is tough, and it's very easy to overthink because, like, straight up, I'm listening to the Popstar soundtrack the most. I'm listening to Connor for Real. I mean, it's the only one. Well, I would say it's the only one where it's like an actual artist. That's not really true, but they kind of all are. But so number one for me, I think I gotta go Connor for Real. But again, if Connor for Real was a real artist in our world, not trying to be funny, I'm not going to a Connor for Real concert. So, no, like, absolutely. As long as I can be meta and in on the joke, I've got to pick Connor for Real at the top, but there's kind of an asterisk there. Because if these were, like, actual bands to go see a show, it's probably Steel Dragon. I mean, I do love those tracks. Stand Up and Shout is just an anthem. It's one of those things that, like, you know, Vesuvius is clearly, like, a parody of that era, whereas Steel Dragon, it's like an homage. I mean, it's, like, believable. Like, that stuff, like, feels authentic. It feels like a long-lost band that actually existed. They did such a good job of kind of recreating that feel. So, Steel Dragon, I like a lot, and we get a good sampling from them. So, I've got to go with them for number 2. Lone Rangers and ADD. This is tough. When we talked about already, Lone Rangers has one song, and that's what's tough. Like, they're playing the one song because they kind of do 2 concerts, like the prison concert and then the big concert, but it's the same song. We just hear the one song, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's fine. It's not, to me, as memorable as any of the Steel Dragon songs. ADD, I'm not necessarily going out of my way to listen to those, but when they come up in the context of the movie, I enjoy them well enough. I compared it to Josie and the Pussycats, which if they were on this list, they would rank pretty highly for me, but we covered them in a different month. So I think I'll put ADD third and Lone Rangers last if we're just talking about the music. I mean, they kind of get shortchanged by having the one song, but you know, I'm listening to Connor for Real the most.
I think that's fair. That's about where I expect you to land with the ranking as well. So,
yeah, we probably could have guessed each other's ranking.
Yeah, probably.
But,
like, write it down ahead of time. Turn it into the teacher. Have her run the scantrons through the machine. See how we work that out there.
Good time, Andrew. We're gonna be back, of course, next month with a brand new theme, brand new lineup of movies. And if you want to know what those movies are, well, you know what you should do? You should hop into our Discord. There's a link right there in the show notes. What are you waiting for? Hop on in, check out the movies we have coming up, suggest future movies to cover, write in with your positive thoughts on movies we're going to be talking about. Like Popstar, friend of the show, Bob Buell, definitely made it a point to hop in and say, Popstar, heck yes, I'll come up with a salient question later, but I need to say that movie is so good. Well, Bob, you never came back with your question, but thanks for jumping in there. Mitch, I'm a Biggie boy. He does our theme song. He also wanted to chime in, and he said, hell yeah, I love this movie so much. Probably one of the funniest male frontal nudie scenes of all time, giving Forgetting Sarah Marshall a run for its money. Hashtag PP podcast. Indeed. Hey, yeah, great minds. Its box office performance was skewed by terrible marketing, showing it as a Bieber parody when really it's so much more. Moments special to me are the wolf trainer being very honest about not being able to calm his dogs, the deleted scene slash song Fuck Off, and the hilarity of Turn Up the Beef being what broke up the Style Boys. I think we hit all of this point. So wonderful.
I think we did.
Wonderful, Mitch. Come join the community. It's a good time, and come back next week. But until then, just remember that maybe not every movie is great.
But all movies have greatness.
Thank you to Mark Benavides for singing our theme song. You can check him out on Instagram at NotThatMarkAnthony. And thanks to Mitch for the music. You can follow him on Twitter at I'm a Biggie Boy. Check our show notes for his SoundCloud link. And check out our store on TeePublic for some Best of the Rest merch. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. It's the only way that we grow. Follow us on social media at BOTRcast. Thank you.